Think back. Have you ever had these four kinds of dreams? I can't tell if it's reality or a dream. Dreaming that it is unfamiliar but familiar environment and people. Have the same dream over and over again. Lucid dreaming that you can manipulate. You can put the serial number on the bullet comment. See how many people are like you in the next 30 minutes. We will discuss dreams in depth, death and immortality. I hope this video, it can bring you a joyous journey of debate. The field of human consciousness and its relationship to reality. It has always been a fascinating and mysterious topic. When we think about dreams, this complexity is reflected vividly. Those vivid, immersive experience. Sometimes it's so realistic that it blurs the line between dream and reality. In the absence of external sensory input, dream, it highlights the extraordinary ability of the brain to create experiences, raises a question about consciousness, fundamental question of nature. Consciousness is only, they shape our perception of reality. Or is he creating physical reality, played a role in itself? Emergence of the scientific method marks our commitment to a major advance in understanding the natural world. He challenged and often overturned many traditional beliefs. This transformation, this is particularly evident in the development of quantum mechanics. This field has introduced many, challenged the concept of traditional logic. One of the most striking examples, it's the glass duality in the double-slit interference experiment. Observe or measure the behavior of quantum particles. Seems to cause its wave function to collapse. Force the example into a specific state. Exact examples of bizarre behavior raised concerns about observation, the various theories and explanations affecting the quantum field, based on these quantum mysteries, and those that challenge our perception of reality, and the theory of conscious understanding. It also makes us wonder whether consciousness is different. Performance in state. So are dreams an extension of physical reality? You spend about a third of your life asleep. It's a dream realm. It is worth considering that these dreams, perhaps not just a figment of our imagination, maybe. We are conditioned to see dreams as simple, ephemeral fantasy. This could suggest our understanding of the complex nature of consciousness and the basic structure of physical reality. There is a deeper misunderstanding. Every experience we perceive, every feeling, it's just processed deep inside our brains. Complex data mixture. Biocentrism. An emerging theory of everything. And the simple answer is this. It's an attempt to look at life and consciousness. The grand theory that explains everything in the universe. The theory offers a radical idea. Space and time. It's not as rigid as we think it is. Absolute entity. Instead, they are our minds. To organize and understand the senses, complex tools for experience. These concepts are fundamental to our understanding of consciousness. They explained why in particle physics experiments, observe space, the properties of time and even matter itself will vary relative to the observer. This principle, it's not just about our waking lives. It also applies to the realm of dreams. In a dream, our minds work to explore probability waves, so that in a three-dimensional world, create a place that can think and feel. A fully functional body, touchable physical reality. We often dissolve when we wake up because of dreams, and see it as illusory. However, the ephemeral nature of these experiences itself does not weaken their foundation in physical reality. Again, we don't fall asleep just because we do, or eventually face death. That our daily lives are not so real. Actually, our recollection of dream experiences not as clear or as long-lasting as waking memories. But that doesn't necessarily diminish their authenticity. For example, think about the people who have Alzheimer's. Their grasp of past events is at best. It's blurry. But that doesn't make them personally. The authenticity of the experience, any discount. Those who are also affected by the drug, their perception of space-time events is distorted. and it can be difficult to remember when the effects wear off. However, it doesn't negate the authenticity of their experience. People who interact with them in this state can prove this. We often associate dreams with sleep during a specific pattern of brain activity and classify it as untrue. But since our waking lives are also related to persistent neural activity, should we also consider it? Is it unreal? Indeed, whether it is a dream state or the consciousness we experience when we're awake, its biophysical basis can be traced back to the complex workings of nerve cells. It can even be traced back to the universe, the Big Bang cosmic event. But biocentrism offers a different perspective. Reality is a relationship with our consciousness, the process of deep interweaving, the ephemerality of dreams, something with contrasting characteristics. We often assume that the outside world exists independently, has something separate from our perception. Concrete reality. We see these as fundamentally different fields. However, a large number of experiments show that the opposite is true. The realities of our everyday world, no more objective than the reality experienced in a dream, or more independent of the observer. This concept, one of the most striking, stands at attention. This is the famous double-slit experiment. When observed, chestnuts only cross one summer peak. Without observation, he seems to pass through two clouds at the same time. The phenomenon of peaks indicates that the unobserved example exists only in the form of probability waves, rather than being a fixed physical entity. Critics often argue that this quantum behavior is limited to the microscopic world. However, the concept of a dual world and small objects follow a set of laws of physics. The macroscopic world follows a different set of laws of physics. Lack of logical reasoning foundation for surveillance. This divided view of reality, it is increasingly being challenged by global scientific experiments, such as Nature. A pioneering study published in the journal revealed that quantum behavior extends to the macroscopic realm. In this study, pairs of vibrating ions exhibit entanglement. Even at considerable distances, they still retain their interconnected physics. This phenomenon, what Einstein called ghostly superpowers, before it is thought to be unobservable in nature. Researchers hypothesize this phenomenon may indeed occur in nature. But due to our current technology, the system will be with the surrounding environment. The limitations of isolation were ignored. Further support for this view, it involves macromolecules, experiments such as buckyballs and KHC3 light bodies. These experiments, it shows correction on a scale that the human entanglement and other quantum behaviors, effectively blurring the quantum world and the macroscopic, the boundaries between worlds. Anyway, whether we are awake or immersed in a dream world, its potential in the biophysical process at the root, it's the same. Although these two state of existence provides a qualitatively different reality experience, but when it comes to thinking and feeling, he bears the imprint of reality. At this time, we are reminded of René Descartes' profound assertion, "I think, therefore I am," and he encapsulated the idea. The act of thinking and experiencing is itself confirmation that a person exists and interacts with reality, and this experience-centered view of reality, in theories such as biocentrism, get further extended. These theories hold that spacetime is not absolute. It's about the construction of consciousness. This naturally leads to the question of the nature of time. Is there a series of eternal moments? In traditional science, for a long time, death was regarded as the end of life. When you die, you lose everything. It's a practical and manageable idea. Say, what's coming? Many people think that's just what people come up with. Just to comfort myself. Not really. There's a reason for that. That sounds scientific, too. But it always makes people feel that life is dark, quite limited. The ending is so absolute, a little chilly. But here's what's interesting. A new idea has emerged called biocentrism. He's not at all like the old idea. I'm just here to smash the scene. This biocentrism, from the mysterious quantum physics and the study of our consciousness. He said we need to rethink life and our thoughts. Perhaps it is the most fundamental thing in the universe. It's a pillar. That's a bold theory. He doesn't think it's all over when you die. To understand what biocentrism is talking about, we need to understand in a little bit first. Stan's theory of relativity, Einstein's great discovery, changed our perception of time and space. He told us, past, present, these things in the future, it's not as clear as we think. His idea, blurring the flow of time. Let's start wondering. The world we feel, is he the way he is? In Ain, Stan based this revolutionary idea. A lot of physicists have taken it a step further. They think every now, every moment, may exist independently. It's like a whole little world. So, time is no longer the same. The river that flows straight ahead. Life is not a smooth line. More like individual photos, one after another. Every photo exists by itself. So we feel like time is flowing. Maybe it's just an illusion of our own. This shift in thinking, in some of the really cool experiments in quantum physics, see very clearly, like the one called the delayed choice experiment. These experiments are amazing. They actually prove what we are doing now can affect what happened in the past, especially in amounts that are too small to be seen. In the world of subparticles, this brings us to our usual understanding of causes. Later, the fruit was subverted. It means that the rules of this world, probably a lot more flexible than we thought. We're more connected. What do you think? If time is not static at all, the most fundamental thing in the universe, how did we think about death before? You have to think about it. Biocentrism takes advantage of quantum mechanics. The world we feel, it's actually made by our brains. In this theory, space and time are not fixed there. They're more like tools in our heads. Help us understand and experience what's going on around us. From a biocentric perspective, what we experience now is very subjective. It's very personal. We usually talk about the past and the future. It's no longer about ding talk on the board. It's relative. Look who's watching. How do you see it in such a conceptual world? Traditionally, what happens when you die? It doesn't make sense. Because time doesn't look like it at all. We thought it would go dark. Let's think of an analogy. It's like an old record player. Singing really walks in the lines of the record. Each line hides a different music. What about reality? It's like a million things could happen. The current large collection. When people are alive, it's not like a fixed point on a timeline. More like a full, dynamic state of various possibilities. As they say in the quantum world, countless possibilities stacked on top of each other. So here's the thing. Death is no longer a complete disappearance. More like from a possibility, jumps to another possibility. The timeline moves forward. Our energy is continuous. These could all be illusions of our senses. Reality may be a series of independent, interchangeable moments. Every moment is a small universe with its own characteristics. That's not a good idea. He not only revolutionized our perception of time, understanding of life and death, and it made us think again. We ourselves are big and in a complex universe. How old is it? So, we can not only see touchable things, it's also connected to the core of the idea itself. This means that we have a lifetime ahead of us. It's probably a lot more complicated than we thought. We're much more connected. This idea, it encourages us to go deeper. So what the hell is going on with us? It also makes us think. If ideas and life, it is what shapes us, experience the fundamental forces of the world, then this universe is for us. The meaning is too profound. So, is death just a migration to another universe? The idea of biocentrism, it's not how we think about death. He thinks the reason why we are afraid of death, it's because we keep comparing ourselves to this physical body, tied together. I feel my body is gone. I'm gone. This is actually an illusion. He said we were afraid of our bodies dying. My consciousness just disappeared. This is because we have a relationship with. I don't understand enough about this. Think the other way around. Our consciousness may be infinite, not subject to time, space constraints. It doesn't even depend on our body. Independent existence. This point of view, something about quantum mechanics. The core idea is quite appropriate. Quantum mechanics, a small example, can be in several places at the same time. One thing, there could be many, many ways. Sometimes an infinite variety. Robert Lanzer, who came up with this theory, he introduced a concept. They say there could be many, many universes. They exist simultaneously. Things may be different in every universe. For example, in this universe, you could be dead. But in another universe, you are still alive and well. Your consciousness has fled to that universe. So, after death, it's not going to some heaven or hell, but ran to in a parallel universe similar to before. Except in that new universe, you are still alive. This kind of death in a universe, a cycle of being reborn in another universe, it could go on forever. Lanz's theory, that sounds promising, but it's controversial. It's not just for people who want to live forever. Even some good scientists, especially in physics and astronomy, it makes sense. These scientists are also wondering about parallel universes, support the idea of a multiverse. That is to say, there are no laws of physics to stop it. Parallel worlds exist. This idea can be traced back to science fiction writers. Herbert George Wells. He proposed it in 1895. Then came 1957. A guy named Hugh Everett in his senior thesis at Princeton University. And then we expanded on that. He said our universe, it keeps splitting into many, many similar vice. Ben, these copies will continue to divide the next second. The theory is that they can happen in real life. There are many different versions of you, doing different things in different universes. Everett explained that every decision we make, every action, are the switches that create these countless worlds. Every time we make a choice, the universe clicks, split into two or more versions, and each version represents that choice, bring different results. Now, in the 80s, a physicist named Andrea Lind, it takes the theory a step further. He described the universe as many, many, many expanding bubbles, and within each bubble more bubbles grow. It goes on and on and on. These universes may look different. No one knows the existence of the other, but in fact, they are all part of the same universe. Later, data collected by the Pollock Space Telescope, it's like giving back to the existence of these multiverses, provided points. Evidence. Scientists used this data to create a extremely detailed cosmic microwave background radiation map. Laura Melsini of the University of North Carolina. Horton and his team discovered that there's something odd about this picture. There are very obvious holes and huge white space. They think this could be our universe and the next. Other universes caused by a touch. So, this new biocentric theory conjectures there could be countless universes. Our souls after death. Maybe you can run into those universes. Speaking of souls, told Kamarov at the University of Arizona, I especially insist that the soul exists. He also said he had found evidence prove our consciousness. It doesn't disappear after death. Kamarov thinks the human brain is like a super awesome quantum computer. In this idea, soul or consciousness, there is some information at the quantum level. This information is after the body is destroyed, can be integrated into our universe, exist forever. What makes Lance special is that he believes that after death, the soul has run to the end, in a completely different universe. This theory also received a place from Oxford University, very talented physicist and mathematician, the support of Sir Roger Penrose. Penrose and other researchers, we're working on a quantum theory, trying to figure out what's going on with consciousness. They think they're already in the brain, found the boat of consciousness, the nerve cells. Inside is a small tube made of protein. They're called microtubules, and these are microtubules. People used to think they were just the framework of the cell, shipping, but now scientists believe that they're particularly well-suited to the brain, quantum-carrying properties. This is mainly because they can grow. Time remains in a quantum state, so it could be the basic building block for a quantum computer. Then ask further. According to quantum physics, are you immortal? Have you ever encountered one of those particularly dangerous situations? I feel like I'm doomed, but in the end, miraculously survived. It seems that God has a special favor for you. Or have you ever had a serious illness? I almost didn't make it. It was a close call. In hindsight, your memory of these things, is it different from what the person next to you said? This can be explained by one possibility. You are actually in another. The timeline is dead, but your consciousness continued in another reality. Sounds like an interesting idea. Quantum immortality. And it raises some pretty profound philosophical questions. The concept of quantum immortality, it was the late 1980s. A brain hole experiment that a scientist came up with. Later, by the discipline of physics marks, Tigmark has been expanded. He guessed we may die many, many times in our lifetime. Every time we die, our consciousness shifts. Or rather, switch to another similar timeline. This means we may be dead, but continue to live in the next timeline. 20th century theoretical physicists Bohr and Heisenberg developed the city of Copenhagen. The theory says that small examples like photons can have several states at the same time, but we wanted to measure him. It will affect his state. Keep him in a state we observe. All other possibilities are gone. To understand, think about it. A cat walks into a room. Before you see him, the cat may be lying down, may sit, may also stand. These are his possible states. But as soon as you see him, he will only be in a certain state. Like standing, all other possibilities are gone. It's against Copenhagen. It's an American one called Hugh Everett's physicist. He came up with the many worlds interpretation in 1957. According to this theory, when we observe a photon, and the world fell apart, in a world where photons fly straight, in another world, he twists and turns. We just fell in one of the worlds. Nothing, reason. Think again about when you decide to go to the store to buy something. In the beginning, your world has two possibilities: to go or not to go. Once you go to the store, your world is divided. Enter the store. You decide whether to buy something or not. We'll make these worlds more. This shows that in the universe, there could be an infinite number of possible states. Quantum immortality and the many-world interpretation of quantum mechanics. This many-worlds interpretation holds that the possible outcomes of every quantum measurement in separate parallel universes really happen. The universe we usually think of, there is only one difference. The multiverse theory says there are countless parallel universes. They're running on different timelines. Everything that happens in these universes, including death, affect other universes. If quantum immortality is true, then when we die on a timeline, we actually just moved to a different place, run to another timeline and live on. This idea, first with a physicist, Everett proposed in the 1950s. Many worlds interpretation. Simply put, this interpretation holds that every time we look at a quantum word system, the universe will be divided into countless. Each universe corresponds to a possible outcome. Later, famous physicist Max Tegmark, we propose a thought experiment, push the idea towards quantum immortality. He assumed that if the many worlds interpretation was right, then in some fatal cases, your mind might jump to that. In a parallel universe where you didn't die, it feels like I'm immortal. This concept, often with the famous Schrödinger's cat, connect thought experiments. Imagine a cat in a box. Life and death are determined by a random quantum event. Before opening the box, the cat is both alive and dead. Tegmark's vow goes further. Put people in similar situations. If many worlds are right, so from your subjective perspective, you seem always live in the universe that survives, although in countless other universes you are dead. Of course, quantum immortality is controversial. It depends on the validity of the many worlds interpretation, and also assuming that there is always parallel universes where you can survive. Critics argue that this could double the known laws of physics, and it can lead to some very bizarre, very low probability event happens in the universe you experience subjectively. Even Tegmark himself clarified, he doesn't believe in quantum immortality. It's a way for people to really live forever. Because under normal circumstances, consciousness gradually declines before death. This has very little to do with quantum mechanics. In general, quantum immortality in the scientific community and the public, there's been a lot of discussion, but it's still a theoretical concept. Lack of experimental evidence. Although many worlds are interpreted, it's a way of reading quantum mechanics, but not the only one. And even if he's right, it may not be launched. The reality of quantum immortality. What's more, this theory, it doesn't solve the problem of physical aging. So for now, quantum immortality is more like, it's a fascinating science fiction idea, rather than a scientifically verifiable reality. He inspires us to think, but it's still a long way from true immortality. Then this will, life and consciousness at the core of life-centrism. Is it possible to be an explanation of everything? The theory of everything? Nowadays, many scientists are wondering, could the universe itself is alive? If so, how did we come to understand life? What is life really like? And how to find alien life has to be completely changed. How much of the world can we understand? Depends on how we ask the question. It also depends on what high tech we have at hand. But the human brain, sometimes it's easy to think simple. They like to make complex things, break it into small pieces. As a result, there are only trees and no forest. We set our own rules. May actually limit our ability to see the truth. Studying the origin and nature of life is a big problem. We are like water droplets. I want to understand what the ocean is. I always want to set boundaries for myself, but there may be no boundaries at all. What is life? You don't know. Science can describe what life is doing, but what is life? Where did it come from? Still confused. It's like a pipe door for a water pipe. I also know what happened to the water and pipes. But where does the water come from? What is water? He doesn't know. Maybe the problem isn't the technology. It's not in the mystery of life itself. It's that we're asking the question the wrong way. The brain is framed. Astrobiology is also wondering about this. Life is stupid. How to recognize it when you find it? Is there a clear line between life and non-life? To answer these questions, scientists have come up with some concepts. For example, livability is what environment can support life. There's coevolution. It's about how life and the environment interact, develop together. There is also a cap that says, saying that the Earth itself is like a living system. Life and the environment adjust together, make the Earth fit for life. Biology now. Neuroscience. Cosmology. These areas of quantum physics are developing rapidly, are challenging old ideas. Biocentrism. And that's when an important idea came to me. He wanted a theory of everything. He thinks life and consciousness may hold the key to the universe. They shape the world we see. At the same time, there have been other new theories of consciousness. They also think awareness is important. Not only does it help us understand the world, they can be involved in processing information and changing central district, including biocentrism. It all starts at the quantum level, to ponder the origin and essence of life. If these ideas are correct, then the theory of everything can put the origin of life linked to the birth of the universe. So the living and the dead. Maybe it's essentially the same. It's just energy. It is not the same as the complexity of information processing, the boundary between life and non-life. It may just be the boundaries of our current understanding. So, the self-regulation of the Earth in the Gaia hypothesis. It's no longer unconscious. It's a conscious planetary collaboration. Co-evolution. It no longer begins with the emergence of life. It's that we start to see the point at which life affects the universe. People used to wonder if the universe had a feeling. This idea is called panpsychism. But now these ideas based on scientific research, breaking down the walls between disciplines. But here's the thing, they changed the way we explore the world. If everything around us were alive, then we're not looking for life. It's about how different forms of life there are, how to communicate with them. The greatest impact of these new ideas, it may be redefining our role as humans. We are no longer spectators. It's the universe. They're part of a larger living system. How do we see the Earth? How do you view the universe? Is a huge shift since it comes to life. So what is life then? Life is an intuitive and easy to identify, a phenomenon that is difficult to define precisely. When we look at an earthworm, its movements and seemingly purposeful behavior, in stark contrast to the dead marks of the stones. This shows that we distinguish between life instinctive abilities of non-living entities. This difference only based on the fundamental survival shared by all living driving force. This driving force, maybe even better than reproduction. This crucial biological requirement. As for more fundamental, the hallmarks of living organisms they consume resources and can self-replicate. This is a feature that inanimate objects obviously lack, even in life forms with weak vital signs. For example, animals in deep hibernation, minimum only degree of metabolic activity sustains life. They don't reproduce. The difference is also obvious. Although metabolism and gene replication is the defining hallmark of life, but they only touched on its more the surface of deep mystery, the profound mysteries of life. It is about understanding non-living matter, the transition to living matter. This shift happened about 3.50 billion years ago on Earth. The main challenge is, through the lens of contemporary scientific methods, reveal the process by which life emerges from non-living matter that is rich in inert substances. The mysterious alchemy of the essence of life. This line of inquiry is not turning to creationism or the mysterious concept of life force. On the contrary, it's a deep scientific question. Although extremely complex, the problem can be summarized as follows. Non-living matter. How is it through natural physics and the operation of biochemical processes, autonomous evolution into living matter? Our language structure often reflects preference for paranormal phenomena, such as animals. The word meaning comes from the Latin anima. It means soul. Therefore, at least within the framework of the language that generates animal meanings, viewing living things as entities endowed with souls is a natural, the language leap. In a broader sense, life can be conceptualized as a substance that embodies an intention or purpose. This idea of intentionality, the scientific method poses major challenges. The scientific method has traditionally been the framework of causal relationships between entities to explain the phenomenon. This allows for a comprehensive understanding of life. Become a complex endeavor. Take fire. Fire works by consuming resources from the environment. Hold yourself and spread. He needs oxygen to burn. Like an organism, operating as a thermodynamic open system. Under the right conditions, fire can even multiply. However, we don't classify fire as a living entity. We will not spread the fire, interpreted as a form of reproduction. It doesn't burn oxygen. Think of it as something like metabolism. The reason behind this distinction is that fire lacks historical continuity. They don't have any storage mechanism for genetic material, enabling it to transmit genetic characteristics as it spreads. And fire is not adaptable. Survival strategies or self-healing mechanisms. If the fire spreads down the slope into the water, he will maintain his path unchanged until extinguished by water. He doesn't actively look for extra fuel or use any form of strategy to prolong its existence. Also consider hurricanes. Like fire, hurricanes are long-lasting and complex systems, as dramatically off balance as an organism. They require specific environmental conditions to form and maintain its structure. They are exposed to local humidity, the influence of pressure and temperature conditions. Under favorable atmospheric conditions, they can maintain their core structure, such as Jupiter's Great Red Spot, a huge rebellion that lasted for hundreds of years. Gas storm. However, despite these similarities, we will not. The properties of hurricanes are equivalent to the characteristics of living organisms. Quality. We have a tendency to perceive life but there's a key difference. The unpredictability inherent in the reproduction of living systems. This is a factor that is noticeably lacking in living systems. In physical systems, reproduce initial conditions with high accuracy. Will cause fire be to burn in the same way? Hurricanes follow a similar trajectory. Stars evolve in a consistent manner. Even small changes may occur. This suggests that non-living systems has relatively static information content, a predictable trajectory from start to finish. And living systems exhibit dynamic information content, that is, unpredictable trajectory from start to finish. Unlike fire and hurricanes, organisms are the result of purification processes originating from their ancestors. Another key difference is the passivity of non-living scattered structures. With life, the system exhibits active behavior in contrast. Life, even at the microscopic level, they also exhibit nutritional strategies, so chemotaxis. Bacteria pass through a yet-to-be fully understood bottom-up and top-down causality. Interaction. Navigate to the best path. We use things like will, terms such as impulsive autonomy and control, to describe the properties of living systems. These words are applied to fire. Hurricanes or celestial bodies can appear incongruous. Despite these obvious differences, life, how to create problems from non-living matter, still as mysterious and elusive as ever. The persistent problem we face is a group of non-living matter After achieving a certain biochemically complex libido, how did it become a living organism? So after all this discussion, we can't help but ask, what we call myself? Is he real? This question, scientists and philosophers have been arguing for hundreds of years, especially now that artificial intelligence is developing so fast. This question is even more glaring. The me we feel, is it true? Or is it just a story made up by my brain? Can we control our thoughts and actions? It's still doomed. In the past, the great philosopher Descartes said that I am here, therefore I am. It feels like as long as I'm thinking, I'm sure it exists. He believes that people's ideas, that is, mind and body, are separate. But then science developed. Many people began to doubt. I feel that everything is materially determined. There is no independent self or soul. Some people even say that the self is an illusion. However, now new research, in particular research findings in brain science, the self may not be something you can touch, but it exists. It's all kinds of complexity in the brain, a phenomenon arising from the interaction of ideas. Like we talked about before, the brain's neural network. It's similar to the structure of the universe. Ourselves may be born from this. The process by which the brain models itself and the world. It forms a center of experience and control. Many studies have pointed to certain networks in the brain, the default network. They're staring at us. Memories are especially active when thinking about themselves. This could be the neural basis of the self. We can even see the brainwave patterns corresponding to these thoughts. So the self can't be seen or touched. But it's real. Like sometimes, we feel as if ourselves have disappeared, like some special experience. But it can be found again. That in itself explains his existence, a healthy self. It's too important to us. He helps us understand the world. It allows us to choose, take responsibility, get along well with others. So you see, arguing about self-existence, not just philosophy. The family talks. It's about how we see ourselves. How do you see morality? Even how to see the truth of the world. Maybe the real answer. As we continue to explore the mysteries of consciousness, constantly understand ourselves between this vast universe, in the inextricable connection. Every time you ask me, it's all a step towards a deeper intelligence. May these profound thoughts can accompany you into a quiet night. Good night.